Be okay with not having it all together. Everything that you went through was necessary. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to It Was Necessary podcast. I am your host, Avanti, ADIZAHYR. And on this episode, I'll be sharing how I went back to the basics. Before we jump in, I basically want to not only welcome you all, this is episode 1 of season 1, but also wanted to share why I started the It Was Necessary podcast. I went through a very transformational year last year. As many of us, we all go through different points in our lives where we have to adapt to change that we don't necessarily see forthcoming. A lot of unexpected twists and turns that we have to quickly adapt to. So, although I have gone through a lot of transformations throughout my life, last year kind of took the cake for me. It was very, 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 very crazy year. I probably would have to say that was the first time I've ever felt completely defeated. Kind of gave up on myself, completely lost faith, and I pretty much had to face my trauma and sit in my mess. So the It Was Necessary podcast kind of birthed out of that, and me wanting to have a space and a place to pretty much open up, be transparent, and in doing that, helping others who also go through this, because we all go through it, learn to face harsh truths and realities, learn to bounce back from those harsh truths and realities, and being able to take a moment and dissect what exactly is going on in your life and how you can make that negative into a positive. Basically asking the golden question of this podcast, which is, what is this moment or what is this trial and error trying to teach me? What am I missing? Especially those moments that you find yourself constantly repeating the same cycle and you find yourself back in the same place and you don't feel like you're getting ahead. You feel stuck. You feel like nothing's happening for you. You feel like you're failing. Those are actually moments that you have to take a step back and reflect on, what am I missing? What is this trying to teach me? Why do I keep feeling like I'm hitting the same revolving door? So it was necessary because it was. It is necessary because it is. Because as you all know, healing is a continuous journey. It does not end. There is no final destination. We constantly do and become better people every day. And we always work, or I would hope that we're always working towards becoming better versions of ourselves. So It Was Necessary podcast pretty much birthed out of that. And we are here. And I appreciate you tuning in, listening. And today's topic is actually me explaining how I had to return back to the basics. I pretty much took last year and stripped away everything. I pretty much lost everything, or though I felt like I lost everything. So it was pretty traumatic for me. It was also pretty traumatic for my children, and we went through a lot. And with that, we learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, a tremendous lot about myself. So I guess what caused me to go back to the basics, like I said, me feeling like I pretty much hit rock bottom last year. I kind of felt like I lost not only in relationships, but also friendships. I have always had an issue with trusting people. And I guess that kind of stems from constantly being let down, which also drove me into wanting to do things on my own, not being open to asking for help, not accepting help. And because I just didn't trust people. And believe it or not, I still don't. Something that I'm actually working on now, and it's a process. So I am, trying to navigate what that would look like if I actually flipped it upside down. Became a bit more open to people's initiations of trying to assist me with things and not feeling like it's an alternative motive behind it. But yeah, one of the things that caused me to go back to the basics was, of course, me feeling like I hit rock bottom last year, and I really didn't have any other choice. I kind of fought against the transformation for a couple months. I was pretty angry for a couple months, just feeling like I failed. And that kind of drew me to curl up into my own little, climb underneath a rock, as they would say, and, sever some ties. But also, it made me not only sever ties, but actually look and realize the truths about people. And this time, accepting those truths and not making excuses for certain behaviors that most would not tolerate if it was them. So although I feel like I hit rock bottom, I also feel like I learned a lot in me having to go back to the basics, because I had to strip back those layers of, clouded judgment, taking the blinders off and actually seeing people and situations for who they are and what they are. And again, not making that excuse to say, oh, well, maybe they'll change and they'll do this better, do this differently. And that's not the case. It has taken me many, many, many years to finally accept that people are who they are. There's no way around it. There's no pretty picture I can paint, and there's no hopeful end result of me seeing something different. People are who they are. People will treat you according to how they view you. And I also have to accept that harsh truth as well. Like, of all people that I would expect to have my back and be there for me, just weren't. And I actually had to realize they really just don't like me. It takes a lot to love, but it takes even more, I say, to actually like. I feel like once you like a person, it's a lot more deeper than actually loving a person. So taking that realization and being like, this person they just don't like me. Because if they did, I'm pretty sure a lot of the things that they did would not have been the case. I really felt like I was left for dead, like I was left out there with nothing. Me and my children were just left out there with nothing. And just realizing that fact that they really don't care if something happens to us. Left for dead, pretty much. So feeling like I hit rock bottom last year, accepting the truth of relationships and people, noticing that they just aren't for me. And what caused me to go back to the basis is I had to actually take some time to face my traumas. We all have traumas. We all have unhealed things that we have to eventually at some point face in our lives, because it will continue to affect different areas of our lives. So going back to the drawing board, going to seek therapy, going to do the work. It's been hard. It's still hard. Still learning stuff about myself even more every day. So having to face those harsh truths of, okay, Avanti, you're doing this over and over again because of what? What is the common denominator? What is the reasoning why we're constantly hitting this same revolving door over and over again? I have to address that issue. And whether that's what they call daddy issues, whether that's growing up without a dad, whether that's not understanding that I lack certain things, one being boundaries. I don't believe I've ever acknowledged that I just never had them, which kind of led to a lot of things that many would not tolerate. So hitting rock bottom, realizing that I've, had failed relationships, whether that's a romantic relationship or a friendship, seeing people's true colors, man, and just facing my traumas, having to do that work, having to really sit in my mess. You have to sit in your mess at some point. Ask yourself those hard questions, not point fingers, because if you keep doing the same thing, at some point you have to address yourself and figure out what those deep rooted issues really, really, really are. So those pretty much are the reasons of what caused me to go back to the basics. I had to basically sit in my mess and take on what I needed to take on. And I'm still doing the work to this day. I kudos my therapist and my advocate the most, because they could pretty much had me, they had me in my fields, you guys, all my fields. Plug, if you have not got my book, do so. But I was really in all my fields, and I was definitely embracing all of them. And I'm still embracing all of them. So again, this is a journey. Healing is every day. You learn something every day, you adapt something every day, and you move forward with that. So I do want to share one of the resources that I used last year. I actually started using it at the end of 2022. It was a book called Destined to Destiny. It's by Angel Carton. Really, 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 really good book. It's basically a pursuit of personal growth, prosperity, and purpose. A little recap of it. Destined to Destiny: How to Navigate the 6 Stages of Transformation and Live Your Destined Life. Studies show that change is doubling each year, and how we adapt to change will have a direct impact on our lives and the world. As the world transforms, so do we. The time now for us all to live the happiest, healthiest, and truest versions of ourselves. In Dedicated to Destiny, leadership coach Angel Carlton provides strategies of self-discovery in 6 stages. These provide the how-to for seekers of more fulfilling lives to get where they want to be. The 6 stages of transformation are realize, release, rebound, reinvent, resurrect, and response. Awareness of these stages allows readers to understand where they have been, where they are now, and where they are heading. The 6 stages provide a fresh outlook on life while helping clear the clutter that prevents many people from achieving greatness. You guys, this book is really good. I actually took the year to go through all of the stages and just pace myself with what those stages would entail. And it actually helped me kind of do the work internally and kind of taking those tools and principles and adapting it to my life. It was a really good read. And I'm going to share the stages with you guys really quick. And if you haven't gotten this book, or if you haven't heard of it, it's really, really good. Again, it's called Dedicated to Destiny by Angel Carlton. Stage 1, realize. Realize is the aha moment, a new realization about yourself and your relationship to life, a new and improved vision of who you are and what you expect out of your life begins to develop. Becoming self-aware of the change happening in your own personal evolution that is about to take place. Stage 2, release. Release stage is when you begin releasing the external components of your life that no longer serve you, leaving behind the emotional baggage, mostly caused by former relationships, disappointments, or upsets. Letting go of the unhealthy habits, patterns of thinking, and beliefs created space for you to reinvent yourself. Stage 3, rebound. Rebound is the phase in which you nurture your mind, body, and spirit by allowing time to process any recent life changes, so that you can ease into the integration of the next level of transformation. Stage 4 is reinvent. Reinvent is another self-focused phase where you are making new choices that are in alignment with self-realization, with the self-realized vision in the first place. Realize it is the empty space that begs to be filled with new choices, behaviors, and habits that are purposeful and productive. Stage 5 is resurrect. Resurrect is when you begin to rise above the obstacles that have held you back in the past. You begin to flow with life and listen to your inner voice for guidance rather than depending on past beliefs. You begin to see life differently and feel a calling to pay forward your learned lessons and share your newfound wisdom with others. Your desire to make a difference in the world begins to grow as you find ways to enlighten others with your insight. You are living in a higher state of awareness and enlightenment. Stage 6 is respond. Respond is a stage when you begin asking, what can I do? How can I contribute to making a positive impact in my life and ultimately in the world? For starters, set a firm intention to become a better leader, a stronger communicator, and role model for others, especially your younger generations. So that's just pretty much a kind of overview of all the steps. But if you haven't heard of this book, go get it, especially those who are going through a transformation in your life or going through trying to figure out how to navigate that. Really, really, really good source, really good book. I enjoyed it and I still use it, even though I feel like I've reached stage 6. I still reference back to other stages. So, pick and choose however way you want to go. But a really, really, really nice book to read and good resource to use. And it's helped me with my time of going back to the basics. So you guys, season 1, which is, I think I want to start theming my seasons. Music is really, really big to me. I've been singing since I was 3, writing since I was 11. So music is pretty much my core. It's my outlet to, I guess you can say, embrace all the feels, go through my moments, good or bad. And it helps me navigate life. I believe music is life. It's very universal. Everybody can relate to certain types of music in different genres. So season 1, although I will be kind of going through the spiel of what has been necessary for me in order for me to grow and become a better version of myself, I'm also going to be highlighting some songs this season. So I've actually titled the season, When Music Transcends, is pretty much the objective, I guess you can say, or theme of the season. So every episode this season, I'll be referencing a song that I feel kind of helped me through whatever the topic would be for that episode. And this topic, which kind of going back to the basics, actually is Jonathan McReynolds, his song Basics on his album My Truth. If you have not heard that album, you guys, go listen to it. When I tell you that album got me through 2023, I don't know. I probably had the whole album on repeat and a couple other songs on repeat. And I'm actually going to reference a few other songs on there that I liked throughout the season. But definitely check that song out. It is amazing. Definitely amazing. And actually check the whole album out. Yeah. But Basics, he basically, explained in my perspective, again, no artist can explain the song better than the artist. But what I took from the song was basically what I went through, having to stop and go back to the source, having to strip down, come off of your cloud, come out of your bubble, and really go back to the foundation and the core of who you are in order to get through whatever you're going through. So the album, the songs are really, really, really dope. Go check it out. Again, it's called Basics. And I'm just going to read a few of the lyrics, especially for the part that kind of took me there. So he basically says, so I can't believe that I'm back to the basics. Climbing down from the trees, getting back to the root. I can't believe that I'm back to the basics. Jumping down from the clouds, getting grounded in you. So if you lose your way, get back to the basics. Somebody needs to pray. Get back to the basics. God's love is still the same. Get back to the basics. Come back and find your faith. Get back to the basics. His hand don't pull away. So get back to the basics. You're not too far today to get back to the basics. There's sun after the rain. Get back to the basics. There's healing after pain. Get back to the basics. The whole song is dope, but it was that bridge. It was that breakdown for me, on those nice mornings when I would drive to get coffee. Yes, that's probably another episode, but that song, that part of the song really stood out to me the most, and just listen to the whole thing. You guys will love it. But going back to the basics, the causing of my bases, the resources that I use, and I guess the overall objective of what It Was Necessary is all about is actually taking that time to ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? I guess I would have to say going back to the basics taught me to create and stand on boundaries and to be self-sufficient. I believe those two things are the most that I had to learn more about myself with, because I did not have boundaries. I just didn't. There's really no other way to explain it. I think I've tolerated a lot of things because of that, and having people realize that and use it to their advantage to manipulate. I can't blame anybody but myself. And being aware of it, being self-aware of it, and actually changing that, creating those boundaries and standing on them. Because it's one thing to create them, but you have to be able to stand on them when those situations tend to try to circle back around, and you have to use what you've been learning. You have to use it so you won't keep going back into that same cycle of having to ask yourself, why do I keep hitting this revolving door? But creating those boundaries, standing on those boundaries, I believe it's shaped me a lot this past year, and I can feel the growth. And I can be a lot more appreciative to vibrating so high that I attract the right people. Not vibrating at such a low vibration that I keep attracting trauma bond relationships or or allowing toxic behavior. So using what I learned about creating my boundaries and standing on those boundaries, actually feeling and loving the person I'm becoming, being happy to vibrate and evolve to attract people that are meant for my life and meant for good, and being a lot, being self-sufficient. Because of course, you if you have, again, this is just my scenario, going from my mother's house right into a marriage, you don't really have, or I did not have the time to really be on my own, do things on my own, not having to depend on people. And I'm not one to depend on people. I hardly ever do that. I don't think I can even say think. I've never been the type to depend on other people. I've always pretty much been independent and looked out for myself. Like I said before, never really trusting and asking for help. So if I ever ask you for help, just know it was an absolute last resort, and I just had no other way. But other than that, I always try to figure it out on my own. But when you actually come from, your mom's house, or come from home, going into a marriage or a union, you depend on those people to have your back. And in a lot of cases, once you get divorced, you have to learn how to stand on your own 2 feet and be an adult on your own. So I guess I can say this past year has pretty much put battery in my back and opened my eyes to a lot of truths, and being able to step out there and not be afraid to be grown. Like, what do all the kids say? When I get grown, I'm a da 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 da. I, at this point, don't even mind going back to kindergarten with recess, nap time, and snacks. But I'm taking it in and I'm doing what I have to do. And again, what I've learned and what I've been doing this past year, I love what I see today. So that's pretty much how I have gone through my going back to the basics, recognizing the cost of it, finding tools and resources to help me navigate and learn, and acknowledging what what it has taught me to become a better version of who I want to be. So if you are out there, you're going through a transition, you don't know whether to go left or right, up or down. You feel like you're constantly in a loop and you just don't know what or where to go, where to start. Go get that book I told you about, Dedicated Destiny. Go get that book. Again, go to the one source, whatever that is that you believe in, whoever that is that you believe in. That will solve all of your problems. That will answer all of your questions. I promise you. So that was the biggest thing for me, of going back to the basics, going back to the core, and getting back really, really deep into my faith and my belief. Was pretty much a turning point for me. So use whatever resources you have. You can use me. Again, I'm here to kind of help you all ask that question. What is this trying to teach me? Because it was necessary. Every single thing you go through is necessary. So I would like to thank you for taking the time out of your life to listen to this episode and allowing me to share my world. As always, be okay with not having it all together while you're striving to become a better version of yourself. Whatever you're going through or whatever you've been through, remember it is and it was necessary. Okay? I love you. Peace out. Y'all have a good one. Be okay with not having it all together. Everything that you went through was necessary.